How's it going, my evil residents? Today we're going to take a look at Call of Duty Black Ops 1 and find out just how much plot armor Alex Mason has. We will also be covering the other two playable characters, Jason Hudson and Victor Reznov. This is the first episode in a series on the Black Ops games, but I do have many other plot armor videos about the Resident Evil series if you want to watch any of those. That said, you can find a link to the full plot armor playlist, including any future videos, in the description. We're going to tally up every time Mason, Hudson, and Reznov should have died, their injuries, and how much it would cost in US dollars to treat these injuries. Every time they should have died, I will also be charging them $3,000 in funeral expenses per death, as this is the average military cost, with what the military usually covers for soldiers' funerals. The medical bill costs I list will also be without insurance, as that would make the numbers fluctuate even more than they already do. We will also be tallying every time a character survives something out of sheer luck, usually due to the writing of the game. I'll count these by giving out Chief tokens, which are named after the main character of the Halo series, Master Chief, because 1, his main trait is that he's lucky, and 2, I just really like Halo. I won't waste any more of your time. Let's get right into the video. Not even 30 seconds into the game right here, we have to talk about the medical cost of literally being tortured via electricity. Based on what happens with Mason, with him having convulsions and passing out every once in a while, but not super quickly, this is likely a 20 to 80 milliamp shock. That is the range that would cause convulsions and brief loss of consciousness every once in a while. It is very, very painful, and on top of this, Mason also likely experienced other physical torture because he has blood all over him and all over his perfectly white dentist white shirt. Poor Mason. Now he has to do his laundry, and it's going to cost him $120,000 to treat all of this stuff. That doesn't even count any sort of mental therapy, but we'll talk about that later. On the slow-mo section of this car part in the first mission, all of these guns are firing at them from such a close range, and they're clearly going through the windscreen and everything. They're clearly hitting their shots, but they don't get shot. They don't get shot at all. Nothing. Not a single thing happens to them. This is a Chief token if I ever saw one. And then shortly after this, they rammed this police car at about 60 kilometers per hour, which is about 40 miles per hour. Keep in mind they are in Cuba, so it would be in kilometers per hour on the speedometer right here. This would likely kill them. I know it cuts away before they hit it, but this isn't the Boros twins. Just because they cut away doesn't mean that it doesn't happen. So I'm going to be charging them $3,000. They would have died here. I'm not covering woods. I'm just saying it like that because I am stupid. Next up, when Mason and crew are running through this massive open area of the airfield, they are being attacked with grenades, high caliber fire, mortar rounds, and many soldiers are shooting them. Mason is incredibly lucky that he didn't die here. This is going to be a Chief token. And then, once they are on the cargo plane, Mason is firing this M60 from the door of a slow-moving plane with absolutely no cover whatsoever. This would likely kill him, so I'm going to charge another Chief token.
There's not enough time for takeoff! I'll deal with it. Mason! Please, Craig is testing you up out there! Mason, what are you doing? Mason! Runway's clear. Mason! No choice, Woods. I knew what I signed up for. I'll be fine. Just go! Get out of here!
After Mason saves the rest of his squad with the anti-air gun, he gets knocked out. And if you didn't know, being knocked out in movie style is not realistic at all, and if that happens, you are probably severely brain damaged. If you're knocked out for longer than like a minute, 2 minutes maximum, you have severe brain trauma, likely a brain bleed, or a severe concussion. Those cost a lot of money to treat, and it would cost more money if there was an open head wound. I don't think there is because Mason doesn't die, so it's going to be $150,000. Yep. And then, when Mason is sent off to Vorkuta, I don't normally charge for therapy on this channel, but Mason goes through so much shit in this game, he can't escape it. He can't escape it. I'm charging him $80,000 for years of therapy for being in a Soviet labor camp for nearly 3 years. And on top of this, he was experimented on, but we will cover that later.
Prepare yourself, men!
During the rain fire step of the Vorkuta escape, Mason should have been killed by this turret. Whoever's operating this turret is literally a moron. I don't understand why Mason doesn't die here, why Reznov doesn't, why literally everyone doesn't die. He clearly has the amount of bullets to kill all of them. He just chooses not to. He just sucks. He sucks at his job. He should be fired. Yeah, chief token. Right here, this is not plot armor, but one of my friends brought up that they wouldn't be able to make explosives while escaping Vorkuta. And I just want to point out that these are likely just rags that are wrapped around packed coal and gunpowder. Gunpowder is not that difficult to get if you're working in a mine, because they're likely using it to, mine. So I think that's reasonable. And then packing it with coal and building the slingshots and stuff, I think this is perfectly reasonable. This is not plot armor. I normally don't bring up stuff that is just not plot armor that people think is, but I felt like bringing this up because I had multiple people bring this up to me that this is plot armor. No, it's not. They're just smart. As Reznov says, witness the fruits of Mason's ingenuity, but, in a Russian accent.
Choose your moment!
Next up, when they skewer the winged beast and the winged beast skewers the building debris doesn't hit anyone. It nearly hits everyone, but it doesn't hit anyone, which is absolutely insane with how big some of these pieces of rebar are and stuff like that. So I'm going to charge another chief token right here. And then right here, Sergey, the goat, saves literally everyone by taking the hit on this door. Poor Sergey. Even if Mason wasn't crushed by the door, this room being closed would trap them in this hallway. They would be pinched and they would almost surely have died. So I'm going to count this as a chief token. And then when Mason gets the minigun from the weapons vault, you cannot just free fire a minigun like this. I hate to break it to you, even though he is voiced by Sam Worthington, he is not a Terminator. He cannot pick up a minigun this heavy. Also, the minigun wouldn't even be able to fire because there is no power source hooked up to this minigun to spin the barrels. You would need power source about the size of a car battery to make a minigun actually, work. So I don't see Mason carrying a car battery, and that on top of him also being able to carry a minigun and fire it with any sort of feasibility is nearly impossible. So I'm giving him a chief token. Next up, on step 8 of the plan to escape Vorkuta, when they jump out of the window on the motorcycles, Mason lands his motorcycle diagonally at an angle. The motorcycle would have slid under him and he would have fallen off of it and either died from being trapped from the soldiers, or his leg, this is more likely, his leg would just fall under the motorcycle and absolutely shatter his leg. So I'm going to charge him $55,000 for a completely shattered, destroyed leg. Especially with how old this motorcycle is. This is likely a 40s, 50s motorcycle model. They are heavier than the ones now. So yeah, his leg is decimated. It is gone. And when Mason does this jump onto the moving train from a moving truck, this is at least like a 12-meter jump. This is an insanely far jump. He has no run up. I don't think he would have made it. I think he would have died. Yeah, I'm going to charge him funeral expenses.
You didn't have to cut me off. Like we were nothing. I don't even need your love, but you treat me like a stranger, and I feel so loved.
When they are running through this drainage part of the facility on the next mission, there's no cover here, and everyone is shooting at them. They would die.
Bowman, set it up.
This'll do it. Load, Mason! Now!
Oh, shit!
It's a hell of a way to test the prototype.
Fucking A. Death! Testing! Get to the tunnel!
When Mason gets bamboozled by this Vietnamese man, Mason pulls his grenade and pushes him like 2 feet away. That's still close enough to die from a grenade. Even in the game's logic, this is close enough to die from a grenade. I died from grenades farther away than this, so I'm counting this as a death. On this mission, when Mason, Woods, and co. are rappelling into Hue City to extract the informant, Mason slams into a building at very high speeds from a crashing helicopter. This would likely kill him, and he's very lucky that he hit a small window on this big building, so he's getting a chief token. I was going to charge it death, but he does hit the window. That's just lucky, so he gets a chief token. And then, when Mason and Woods are trying to push this door out of the way so that they can get out of the road with the tank, they get crushed by a car. That's a death. That's a death. I don't think I have to explain that. When they are trying to get their extract from Hue City, this tank doesn't just shoot Mason. It just kind of sits there and does nothing. At least when I played, this tank didn't fire once at all. It just pulled up to look menacing, and it didn't do anything. This is a chief token, because from where Mason is taking cover, he still would have died. Yeah, I don't understand this part at all. They were dead to rights here, and they just survived somehow. In the next mission, Mason gets in another helicopter crash. Don't get on a helicopter with this guy. If you see Alex Mason getting into a helicopter and he says, yo, buddy, get on the helicopter with me. We're going to have a fun time. We're going to drink the GTA champagne in the back of the $5 million helicopter. Don't. You'll die. It's proven. Most times he gets in a helicopter in this game, it crashes. Anyways, Mason gets a chief token because after the helicopter crash, no, I'm not counting the helicopter crash on its own as a chief token because they likely had proper training and were strapped in. But I am counting a chief token for the fact that Mason was able to get this door open underwater when it was jammed shut with absolutely no leverage. If you don't know how opening things underwater works, if you try to open something without any sort of leverage, you're just gonna move yourself, especially with how heavy this door is and it's jammed. So, chief token. Also, before you say he could have braced against the door frame in front of him, he doesn't do that. He's literally looking at the door frame. You can see that he doesn't do it. So, shut up. And then Mason commits a war crime and takes a human shield to survive here, and this wouldn't have saved him. There's at least 6 guys here shooting him with AK-47s. I looked it up, and AK-47s have a high penetration rate through the human body. I'm definitely on a watch list somewhere. He would have died from this anyway. This was pointless. He should have died here. I'm charging him $3,000. And then when Mason is in the foxhole, he is so lucky that he got out in time to be able to dig himself out of the collapsing foxhole. Dear God, this scene stresses me out so bad. Just getting a chief token, Jesus Christ. And then he gets knocked out again for a significant amount of time. That is more brain damage. More brain damage. $150,000.
Gonna make him pay.
You! No talk. Play!
What's the plan? I'm thinking.
No talk!
One chance, Mason. We'll take it. Okay.
Bang! You can't kill me! You shoot, GI, you shoot! Fuck!
And then Mason gets another chief token because Woods does a mysterious thing to Kravchenko that is definitely not retconned in Black Ops 2 at all, and he saves Mason, so chief token.
Got you now, you son of a bitch. You die. What? He said no!
And after this, with the whole brainwashing experience revealed, let's talk about this. I'm charging him $600,000 for decades of treatment and therapy for severe brainwashing that was hijacked by another person. So we got double brainwashed, PTSD for the Vietnam War, a war camp, torture at the hands of the Vietnamese, and other emotional trauma from losing friends and allies and teammates throughout the entire game, as well as all the near-death experiences he has. Dear God, how is this guy combat ready? Why is he allowed in the field? I don't know. This is the single biggest medical bill I think I've charged in the series, because it's absolutely insane the amount of stuff that happens to this guy's brain. If you put this guy's brain in a blender, it would come out less fucked up than what happens to him in this game. It's literally ridiculous. So he would need the top of the line freaking therapist, okay? So, and he would need it for decades, literally decades, probably his whole life. So $600,000. Next up, in the last mission, when they are going to the Rusalka to stop the broadcast, they go to this base at the bottom of the Gulf of Mexico. I looked it up, and the Gulf of Mexico is about 4,000 meters deep. Humans can only dive a bit over 1,000 if they have really good gear and they are very experienced. This is insane. So this would have killed them. They would have been squished. So $3,000. And then, while they are in the Rusalka, there is a part where something explodes and a cabin depressurizes and it is flooded with water. This would have also killed them. I'm charging $3,000. Mason gets exploded on.
What do you mean by that?
Then right here, Hudson saves Mason.
Turn me against my own. Like to kill my own president. Right?
And right here, it is revealed that Mason most likely, either directly or indirectly, was responsible for the assassination of John F. Kennedy. This would likely be considered second-degree murder in a diminished capacity, but it was still targeted at the President of the United States. This would still likely receive life in prison, meaning this would essentially end his life. So I'm giving him a chief token for not being thrown in jail. America doesn't take too kindly to people that, kill their president or try to. And even if he was brainwashed, I don't think the public would have suddenly been like, oh, it's okay, Mason. Oh, it's okay. Yeah, you can roam about as a free man. No. So, chief token. And last but certainly not least, Mason and Hudson escape from 4,000 meters down in the ocean and managed to swim to the surface with no gear. They made their way down with gear, and that was a death. They made their way up with no gear. That was also a death. $3,000. Looking at Alex Mason's totals, he came out with 13 deaths, which is, honestly, I expected it to be a lot higher. I'm not gonna lie. The chief tokens being at 18, that sounds about right. What really shocked me was how high his medical bill was. Dear God, he has $1.3 million in medical fees. This is the highest of the series. He freaking hop skip jumped over any of the other Resident Evil characters I have covered so far. This is insane. It's $100,000 more than the previous highest one, which was Leon Kennedy. So this is insane. And Leon tallied that up in 2 games. Mason did it in 1 game. And that 1 game is shorter than one of Leon's games. So that's insane. That's literally insane. Now that we have covered Mason, let's move on to the one and only bald man himself, Hudson. Starting off here, when Hudson is trying to extract this informant, they jump off this building. They jump 3 to 4 stories. If this doesn't kill them, it would likely severely break their legs, and having 2 mattresses on the ground where you land isn't suddenly gonna not break your legs. So I'm charging $90,000 for 2 severely broken legs. This is the average amount I charge on this channel for severely broken legs. It is an oddly common occurrence in Resident Evil, so I just had this one on standby. While I was playing it, I was like, oh, $90,000, I'm gonna charge that. When Hudson is being a stupid fucking moron and interrogating Clark while they're hanging from the side of a building, only Clark is shot. Hudson and Weaver, I'm not covering Weaver in this video, but they're both lucky that they also weren't shot, because they got the clean quickscope on Clark. They didn't get one off on Hudson, and they didn't get one on Weaver. I'm giving a chief token. If I was covering Weaver, he'd get one too, but we're just talking about the bald boy today. The eye patch boy might be covered in a sequel video if this video does really well. Here, after Hudson falls quite a ways, I don't even know how to count this, so I'm just not going to count it. He is then saved by his extraction team, ramming all the people that are shooting him. So, chief token. Next up, when Hudson is doing his operation in Yamantau, he has Captain Mosley providing overwatch during a horrible blizzard. This is a cheap token, because this Captain Mosley basically just saves their asses multiple times. And when they're leaving this station up on the side of the mountain, Hudson survives a near direct missile hit. I'm charging him funeral expenses. This should have killed him. Then, right after this, I looked up the likelihood of what would happen from a parachute in this scenario with a high blizzard and high lateral winds going on from the side of a mountain at like a weird angle, and how late they pulled the chute. Hudson, especially with how late he pulled his parachute, he likely would have broken a leg or sprained both legs, both of which would be expensive to treat, especially since he has to leave and fight after this, walking on the sprained or broken leg, making it worse. So I'm going to be charging $50,000 for this horribly broken leg or severely sprained ankle/ankles. This could fluctuate a lot. I'm just charging kind of a middle number here because it's kind of hard to tell what would actually happen. When they are driving away from the avalanche, like the action heroes that they are, Hudson has no cover on this MG. There's no cover on the back of the truck. There's no walls of any sort, so they could just shoot him. He should have died, I think, because there's so many people shooting him. Funeral expenses. I charged Mason for this as well, so I won't cover it as in depth, but Mason swam with Hudson down to the bottom of the Gulf of Mexico in literally impossible circumstances, so I'm charging him a depth. And then he gets 2 more depths because he dies in the depths and while escaping the depths, much like Mason did. I know I kind of speed ran through Hudson's stuff, but a lot of his stuff is just similar to Mason's, so it was just kind of a lightning round. Speaking of lightning rounds, Reznov's is going to be even quicker because we only have 7 things to cover for Reznov. He gets 2 chief tokens at the beginning of his World War II section here. One, he was lucky that he was thrown in the second Nova 6 testing chamber. If he was thrown in the first one, he would have freaking died because that's the one they used first. And he gets another chief token for not being hit by any debris from the ship explosion and for not dying of frostbite in all of the freezing cold trying to escape from this area because he has no backup, no extraction, no anything, no radio, which means he basically trucked it out of this god-forsaken freaking snowy wasteland all by himself, which is insane. He gets a chief token for that. And I'm going to charge him $150,000 for treatment for PTSD from about 20 years of life in a Soviet labor camp. 20 years. He is older than approximately 36% of my audience. That's how much time he spent in Vorkuta. Imagine if you spent your whole life in Vorkuta, all the therapy you'd need. Yeah, I'm charging him $150,000. Charged Mason for this too, but Reznov should have been killed by this turret while they're escaping with the minecarts before they rained fire. So, chief token. And much like I charged Mason, he's lucky he wasn't hit by any building debris from skewering the Lily Beast, and the Lily Beast skewers the building. Reznov would also likely fall under his motorcycle because he lands in a very similar way that Mason does. In fact, it looks like almost the exact same animation, just in third person instead of first person, meaning he'd also break his leg, meaning he would also be charged $55,000. And then, right at the end here, take your hats off, gentlemen, ladies, and everything in between, please. R.I.P. Reznov. He freed our boy Mason. He sacrificed himself. Well, and also brainwashed him. But I like Reznov, so it's okay. I'm gonna charge him $3,000 for funeral expenses and give him the fabled death coin. R.I.P. Reznov, you're a real one.
You can't kill me!
Looking at all 3 totals together, Hudson, despite being in much more of the game in a real capacity than Reznov was, his medical bills are actually lower than Reznov's, but he does have a lot more just straight up deaths, so that's probably why. He does have less chief tokens than Reznov as well. Reznov has 4, Hudson has 3, Hudson had 6 deaths, and Reznov only had 1. which is kind of insane when you think about it. Reznov's medical bills totaled $208,000 and Hudson's totaled $158,000. Comparing this with Mason, it is obviously a lot lower because, you know, Mason's the main character and he was literally being tortured for most of the game and brainwashed by at least 2 people. So Mason just had it rough, okay? And Mason's is only going to go up because he's also in Cold War as a playable character. And some crazy shit happens in that game. So I have a feeling Mason is going to be our front runner for medical bills in the future. But who knows? Maybe Bell in Cold War is also going to have a pretty high medical bill. Maybe David Mason will as well, and maybe we'll cover Frank Woods in the future as well. Thank you very much for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you liked it, feel free to drop a like. If you disliked it, feel free to dislike it. But please do, if you dislike it, let me know why in the comments so I can make my videos as good as possible. If you want to see more content like this, I will be doing a video about Black Ops Cold War, and I will be ranking all of the weapons in Black Ops 1 Zombies. All of the weapons. Not the like 30-something regular weapons. I'm ranking all the fucking weapons, okay? So you want to stick around for that. I'm ranking 69 weapons for the Black Ops 1 video. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be fire. And then I'm going to be doing a Black Ops Cold War plot armor video and probably Black Ops 2 after that. And I'll be doing Resident Evil Village as well. And I'll be doing a couple Dead Rising videos and mostly Resident Evil videos. But I'm going to be doing a little bit of a variety. So feel free to stick around if any of that stuff sounds good to you. Feel free to subscribe. We do also have channel memberships up on the channel. If you'd like to throw money at me, I would greatly appreciate it. But obviously, don't feel pressured if you do not have the means or simply don't want to. I greatly appreciate you watching the video, liking, subscribing, whatever you do. Thank you very much. And yeah, stay evil, my residents.